Well, none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots, yeah. None of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots. I'm telling you now, the truth. Telling you, yeah, the truth. You have to go back to the roots. Go to the roots. Yeah, man, you know, this is Benjamin out of the Smiling Coast, West Africa, Gambia, representing for the one and only Abu, the big man you don't know, the Soninke warrior, the man that brings the truth, Soninke warrior, the sign of enlightenment, the Soninke warrior, the righteous and the true African. Abu, reveal the truth to them, you know, no matter how them try to run from it, because none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Yes, we have to dig back the roots, yeah. Fire!
Subscribe now.
I remember the days, all those years ago that never fade away. And I remember your face when you hit the ground. I can recall the time and place on the midnight walk through the old streets, trying to turn back the clock to the days of old. Back to the days when all the things we knew were made of gold. As the world moves on, time sings a song. In the old neighborhood, as the clock strikes one, the memory lives just as it stood, like a quiet dream.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Afridamus Report. I'm your host, Afridamus. Please make sure you hit the like as you're coming in. And today we have a very exclusive interview with the president of Ghana, President John Mahama. And the discussion was based on very important topics that we always tackle here. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, welcome to the Afridamus Report. I am Afridamus, the host of the show here, and some people call me Professor Damus. So you would be wondering, why do someone here, this professor, bases his studies entirely on the blacks? So it's not only about the blacks, but the blacks have made several claims where they try to tether themselves to Africans and then use reverse psychology. But as you guys know, this here is about fair analysis, because, ladies and gentlemen, in this interview, and it's great that I'm using the actual president, because it's not like some pseudo historian, some wannabe Pan-African. This is a president elected by the people of that nation. So I remember a few months ago, actually, this same president, John Mahama, who this is his second term as the president of Ghana, was accused a few months back by the FBAs. They said the Africans are trying to hijack our reparation efforts, you see. And they said, how dare the president of Ghana speak on them? And I said, even myself, I said, well, the Ghanaian president was wrong for this. But then I said, you know what? I can't just jump the gun. I need to do deep research. So my following video, live stream we did, I don't know if the message reached the president of Ghana, John Mahama, but either way, I think he now understands that there is a group who is trying to tether onto Africans and claim reparation. So in fact, is beginning to look like FBA does not have claim to reparation. So, the president will talk about that. And I mean, it's not like FBA is actually recognized by the official, but when we get to that, this slavery part, I would break it down. And also, the president goes on to speak about the current, global world order, and also about South Africa and xenophobia. So, guys, as you guys know here, I would give you the most unbiased, honest analysis of this video. And as you guys know, that's how we do it over here. We do not just speculate. We bring evidence and we hear from the horse's mouth. So now, ladies and gentlemen, this would even help us and many other people that, like the FBAs, they think like the black world revolves around them, right? So to see that, for them to also understand, not just short clips where we hear, it's important to hear directly from these elected officials for us to know where they stand. And also, some of the things that the president is talking about, you will understand that, okay, where is Africa today? I mean, it's important to know this. Like, is Africa stuck in the past? Are African nations even truly freed? Like, who is running the show? So from this conversation, we would, also understand that as well, because a lot of people make a lot of speculations, they make excuses, and we're like, okay, how come these countries are not moving in the direction that the people wanted to move to? So sometimes we hear a lot of stuff. Even myself, I would say, look, man, because when the blacks talk about slavery, you know, I call it excuses. So it is only fair to be able to recognize the same thing wherever you spot it. So I don't want to keep you waiting. Let us go straight to this video here. Nat Turner, welcome to the show. Nat Turner said, Ghana got paid already with wine, guns, mirrors, and beads. The white Europeans have the contracts and all receipts. Well, thank you for your participation here, Nat Turner. Welcome in the house, Zongo. Salute to you and all the people that are watching. So I'm going to play this interview here, and I would allow the people to hear the president out. And when necessary, I'm going to stop it and give my analysis of what we are all listening to here. So hit the likes and let's get straight into it. And I don't want anyone, look, I got to give warning to some of these people. They are going to get all worked up like, oh, how dare you say X, Y, and Z. Look, it's not about that. You have to look at it like you are getting direct information devoid of, emotions. How do you expect to know what the truth is if you are just applying your own emotions to it? Like how you wish things were versus how things really are. So you have to be able to know, to separate those two. One is real and the other isn't. So maybe we might see is the African mind, progressive? Is the African mind in the same direction, in line with the type of lifestyle that people are calling for? So we would get all that from this exclusive interview from the great president of Ghana. Okay, here we go. This is for edutainment purposes. And here we go. So let's begin.
The future is African.
Ahead of the next UN General Assembly, the Global South is calling for a more equitable international system. Can Africa lead that change and help reset the global order?
Africa cannot continue to be a dependent continent. There are things we can do so that we're able to have a better voice in global affairs.
We traveled to Accra to speak with Ghana's President John Mahama about his vision for a new global architecture built on dignity and partnership with Africa, not injustice and exploitation.
The challenge that us leaders of Africa today face is not a liberation struggle that was fought by Kwame Nkrumah and our forebears. It is the economic struggle. We don't reject partnerships, but those partnerships must be on our terms. Africa's prosperity is not a threat to anybody.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bigger Than Five with me, Rida Fakhri. As the international order comes under increasing strain, countries across the Global South are demanding a greater voice in shaping the rules that govern it. One of them is the West African nation of Ghana. We're in the capital city, Accra, where President John Mahama is positioning Ghana and Africa to play a greater role in the push for a more representative and equitable global order. At the center of that effort is President Mahama's Accra Reset Agenda, an initiative aimed at moving Africa from dependency toward greater resilience and influence in global affairs. I sat down with President Mahama to discuss Ghana's ambitions for Africa, the push to reform global governance, and whether this is the defining moment the continent can translate its growing influence into lasting power. Mr. President.
All right. So, guys, I have to stop in between. So the president, you guys heard it, they set it up, what the conversation is going to be about. This is about the global power. But now, the way it's been framed, so as it stands, the Western, meaning the white people, and which is, the United States right now runs the world, is the king of the world ever since, after World War II. And guys, the United States becoming the superpower was not handed to them on a silver platter. You have to understand this. Back then, it was Britain. So during the Second World War, that was started by Germany, as you guys know. So Germany was in the Second World War. They were allied with, Japan and Italy. They had Mussolini, and in Japan, they have Emperor Hirohito back then. So in Germany, they had Adolf Hitler. And the United States, as you guys know, it's a huge ocean between the United States and, most of the world. So the United States practice isolationism, meaning they don't interfere with what's going on in Europe or anywhere else. They just want to do their own thing. That's how they've been operating. But now, during the Second World War, I'm going to cut it short. During the Second World War, and right after the Second World War, Japan was completely destroyed. Okay? Germany completely destroyed, like Europe was, but Germany was decimated. The UK, France, right? They were destroyed. So these factories that stood in these nations after World War II, they didn't have these factories anymore. So the United States was the only advanced country at the time in the West that had its factories standing and producing. So naturally, it makes sense. There is no competition. And the United States Army, the United States was like, hey, we fought World War I, World War II, So now that these companies are leveled, the United States have an advantage. So they were like, look, we're the big dogs. They strengthened the US Army, made the dollar the currency that people trade in. This is after World War II. So that is the current order that we are in. So the United States built itself militarily. United States, don't let anyone fool you. People even tell you, even China can challenge the United States militarily. They cannot. If China could, they would have done it by now. They cannot. The US have the strongest military on the face of this earth as we speak. So now that's what the president of Ghana, because China have been challenging that power, you see. So now it's at the final stages where countries like Ghana and other countries, the wokeness, all that's China's propaganda, because China cannot take on the United States militarily. So they have to support weak leaders and weak policies that would weaken the United States. So like when you saw Joe Biden, all that woke stuff, that's all Chinese propaganda behind it. So when you use the country's grievance and create division, you can destroy the country from within. So if you've been paying, so when Trump came the second time around, he understood that the United States is being used, like to destroy itself. So the USAID, all those organizations you see, so they are using US taxpayers' money to even fight the US. All that Black Lives Matter, all those matches, if you notice, ever since he removed USAID, those have stopped. Literally, even if they start, it doesn't go anywhere because they lost their funding. So the international socialist, communist world order infiltrated the United States government, who are aligned with, the global South. So this is why you were seeing during the Biden era, all these people, they were aligned with Ghana and other places. So Ghana is not, doesn't have any pact with any of these countries. That's how most of the African countries are, right? So that means that just because you don't like Mr. X, that doesn't mean Ghana, cannot be friends with that person, because Ghana is not the one that have that problem with that person. You see? So China is exploiting that to be able to push and say, okay, the global South now also needs, to be able to have a permanent seat in UN. Or also the power have to shift. When they say the power have to shift, do you think China is saying, okay, we are here to help and shift the power from the United States and give it to Africans? And China is on the UN permanent seat. So the game that's been played here is very easy, is to say, because China knows even they themselves are not, being on the UN permanent seat, they are not going to, relinquish that power, especially letting Africans be able to dictate stuff, in the world power. So the Chinese are safe, like they would like, oh, we support you. They would say to Africans, we support you on things that they know is impossible. You see? So what President John Mahama is speaking about here, he is pushing the Chinese agenda. The reparation, that's also the Chinese agenda. Okay? But while doing that, he's also positioning Ghana to be able to win. So it's a win-win for everybody. That's how the game is being played. That's what you are watching. But this game that's been played, this is not good for the regular people. But let us continue here.
And thank you very much for having us here at Jubilee House and for taking the time to speak with us today.
No, thanks for having me.
The Western-led international order has come under increasing scrutiny and pressure as more and more countries in Africa, but also across the global South, are demanding a greater voice. You have been calling not just for reform, but for a fundamental reset of the way the rest of the world engages with Africa. It's a lofty, ambitious initiative. In practical terms, what does it actually mean?
Well, it's born out of reality. 80 years after the Second World War, the new global order was formed based on multilateralism. And it placed Africa in a situation where we have had a dependency syndrome. And so we live on the handouts that the West gives us. And then aside from that, we don't control our resources. Our resources are bought at prices that are set by the West and exported, and the finished products are sent back to us at prices that are set by the West. And
So what the Ghanaian president is saying here, so even though he's not mentioning the United States, but we all know the United States are, right now, as the globe is the one in charge. They are the big dogs. So what he's saying is, it's been 80 years. So now the power have to shift. As if when the United States acquired this power, people decided they came and gave it to them and like, hey, we would give this to you X amount of years. No. The United States saw an opportunity. They came. They were the only one standing. They're like, look, these people, we've ignored them. We've stayed away from the rest of them. They keep fighting and they beg, they bring us into their fight. It happened in World War I. They went in. World War II. So the United States is like, okay, we cannot escape the rest of them. Why don't we control them? The factories are down. US came, they built Europe as it is now. Don't you know the United States technically controls those European countries? This is why, imagine. So you guys just look at things in black and white, but like you have American bases in these countries since World War II, sorry. They have military bases there. Do you see any European army bases here in America? So it's about power. So now, Ghana's president, what he is saying is, we can it's been 80 years, let's just come on the table and, just tell America, hey, man, now you got to give up the power. But give it up to who? To who? Like the United States can back the power they have. They have the strongest military. What do you have? Like, you have nothing to make them answer to you. You see? So, but let us continue.
so the whole idea of the research started with the issue of health sovereignty and breaking the dependency syndrome. So we convened a conference here and said, look, we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We must create more resilient health systems. We must produce more of our medications locally in Africa. We must finance our health outcomes more ourselves. We don't reject partnerships, but those partnerships must be on our terms. We must have a greater say in what those resources are used for. And so,
Guys, let's just be real. So you guys are seeing this, right? So clearly, from what I've explained here, to be able to be dominant, to call yourself even a viable candidate in the power struggle of the world, you have to have the military, the finance to be able to dictate anything. So, okay, what the president of Ghana is saying is now they want to be able, without having any consequences for the people they are dealing with. Like the African countries cannot do anything to the people they are trading with, right? Those people are the ones that know what they want to do with what the resources they are buying. They are the ones with the agenda. So now you tell me, how are you going to be able to dictate to those people what the terms are going to be? You don't have the knowledge of, you don't have factories. Guys, you have to remember this. We are literally like, that's why I asked the question, is Africa stuck? Because the Industrial Revolution, we missed it. Now we are in the AI era. Y2K bust, all that have surpassed Africa. Like you can literally time travel back. Like you could leave right now from 2026 and go back to somewhere in Africa and leave back into 1820s. Like literally. So you are like time traveling. You see? And that's not a diss. I know some people are going to take it that way, but that's not what it is. I'm just telling you, the game. Because those people that live that way, it's not like anything is wrong with them. I don't think so. That's the life they know. That's how they are living. But now the global game that we are playing in, you have to have the best military, like the United States. You have to have the finances. That way you'll be able to dictate the terms. But if you're like lowly on the totem pole, you can't dictate anything. So guys, I'm just painting it out to you why things are the way they are, because we're hearing it directly from the president, John Mahama, the people that are in charge. And also shout out to President John Mahama. Even, even if some of the points people might disagree with, but regardless, he is the one bringing the conversation and actually, telling us what he is thinking. So that's great. Because in this day and age, a lot of the other African leaders, people that are running these countries, we are not getting these honest conversations. The people are pretending. Like it looks like when you look at the president of Kenya, 1 minute he is a Pan-African, another minute the guy is a French bourgeoisie, another minute he is a Jew. So we don't know where he stands. Okay? So at least with President John Mahama, we can get honest conversation about the things we've been talking about on the internet here. Let's continue.
we had the Accra Reset Conference, but then it's gone a step further because it applies to other things, including the whole global order. I mean, Africa cannot continue to be a dependent continent. There are things we can do so that we're able to have a better voice in global affairs. And so that's where it all started, and it's continued.
But how do you actually break that dependency syndrome that you speak about? How do you make sure that Africa as a whole can assert itself and be seen through a different lens as a global partner, not as a continent that has long been seen through the lens of turmoil, conflict, and dependency?
Let me say one.
All right, guys. So literally the lady this question he is asking the president, this is literally what people have been fighting about on the internet, whether it's from the Pan-African side, the Africans, the FBAs, like sometimes like the FBAs would attack the Africans. But now, guys, literally this woman is asking the question that all of us have been asking. And also, prior to the question, have you guys noticed that the president is able to diagnose the problem that Africa have been dealing with for like 80 years now? Because you have to remember, the times keep changing. So we would talk about from World War II. He's able to talk about the dependency. So that means if you know the problem, you should be able, because you're the smart guy, you should be able to give us the answer on how to cure that problem. The lady asked. Let's hear how the president is going to respond. If he's going to give a politician answer or an actual answer. But the question itself is very important. So let us all listen and see what he says.
Okay, Africa's prosperity is not a threat to anybody. Indeed, Africa's prosperity will be a benefit to the whole global economy. And so it's in the interest.
Are you guys seeing this? Are you guys hearing this? The president is giving us, I mean, look, no disrespect to the president, but he's giving us internet Bible answers. He is giving us one of those Pan-African internet answers. They are able to tell us all the problems. But the moment you ask them, they are giving you answers that sound like there has to be somebody somewhere who gives you the permission to be able to, in fact, cure this problem. And then they would throw things in like, oh, is Africa prospering is not a threat to anyone. But that is not the question. Why do these super black people, the blackity black ideology people, how come, what makes them think that Africa succeeding or they themselves succeeding is a threat to anyone? If you can do it, just do it. In fact, if the world truly wants Africa down, honestly, why would they even support Africa? Because a lot of these countries, they were run by, outsider help. So obviously, they want Africa to move forward. I'm just bringing you this critical analysis for people, like an honest analysis for you to see that. In fact, the problem, the fights that we are having on the internet everywhere, this is from the top. It's from the top. They are stuck in the past. They are keeping the people in the past. You see? They're keeping the people in the past. Because if we truly say these countries are independent, right? Nobody's forcing you to make deals. But you see, this sounds like Animal Farm to me. The book Animal Farm, I was just reading it recently, where the pigs, they took over from Mr. Jones, the farm owner. They see things running, they're eating, things are working, but they think Mr. Jones was oppressing them. So they decided they're going to take over and do things their way. But you know what the pigs end up doing? For them to succeed, they had to go against their own rules and regulations. They had to do it exactly just like Mr. Jones was doing it, which brought separation between them and the other animals. So that's what Africa is. So you have the black leaders, they're like, hey, the white people are running this government. We're going to go be in charge. But in reality, They are there for themselves. They are there, because it's a class system. See, they didn't like that the white people were at the higher class, so they want to come and be in charge. But you see, they are not running things the way the white people are running it. They had to run to the white people and be the second class to the white people. You know what that makes us? That makes us, fourth, fifth, three-fifth human. Because you're seeing it. Our own leaders are telling you and I that there is like this invincible somebody. Somebody has to let them. Somebody has to let them. Are you guys hearing this? So this is why when I say, why don't we just have the white people run the place? Because you see, with white people, you can actually guilt them. But the black ones, they don't care. They do not care. But because of pride, many are not going to like this. The president is saying some good stuff, but he is also literally letting you, me, and everybody know, like, yeah, we know the problems and stuff, but hey, technically, there are people who still got to give us permission. So, should these countries be called independent? You cannot call yourself independent if you cannot run on your own resources. The United States, when the United States defeated King George, the British, they became truly independent. They didn't rely on England. They had nothing to do with, in fact, they had to rely on the United States. That's what independence truly means. But if someone you have to ask someone for permission, that is not independence. I'm just gonna lay it out like it is. And the president, in many words, I'm telling you what he is not directly telling you. Let's put it that way.
Of the whole world, that Africa prospers and that Africa does well, and that we're able to overcome the challenges that we face in terms of, growing our economies, in terms of, providing education for our people, in terms of healthcare and all that. We can do things better. One, in Ghana, we've started with the reset agenda. We call it the reset agenda. We believe that the time has come for us to add value to our natural resources rather than just export them. And I'll give you a few examples. From colonial periods, we have been the second largest exporter of cocoa beans. Now, just about 30% of those cocoa beans are processed locally. The rest, 70%, is shipped abroad. Those beans that are shipped abroad represent jobs that are leaving Ghana because the processing takes place. Sometimes we have to import them back. So we are saying that, look, we want.
So, what the president is saying here is, so that's what I was saying. So, to be able to do that, you would have to build factories. Factories run on energy. So, right now, in most of these African nations, even they cannot sustain electricity barely today in 2026. How are you going to run factories? People are talking about AI data centers. Do you know how much energy that consumes? So that means that Africa would just continue to be way, way, way behind. So they are talking as if it's still the colonial era, when in fact the white people have moved far away from that era. There's been several revolutions already. Now we are in the AI era, and the president is talking about them adding values to their own beings. Did you guys know that that's how it's always been since even slavery? The Europeans, they come in to the coast, okay? They take the resources, they process it. When they take it to Europe, like they were doing, they process it, bring it back, and resell it in exchange for higher value. That's how it's always been, all the way to where we are today. This is why you would see people say to you, "Oh yeah, Congo has coltan, blah blah blah." Okay, what can Congo do with that coltan? So now they're gonna extract that resource from Congo under harsh conditions at a very, very cheap wage. In fact, there are children working in those mines, and those people are probably paid with cups of rice. So literally below even slavery wages. But now that same coltan would be used, processed, put in telephones and other stuff, and then get resent to same place and get sold for, like 1,000 times more than what it was bought for. So that shows that the Africans clearly do not have the knowledge or the will to be able to do this. This requires energy. It requires energy. If you can, if like to create factories are run on energy. Why do you think right now, as we speak, President Trump is squeezing, making sure that the United States have complete control over the Strait of Hormuz? Because right now, that means he can starve China. So it's about economic warfare. So Africa is talking about adding value to their cocoa beans. Okay, are you going to force that cocoa beans to the white people to buy it? Is that what's going to happen? Why is every idea about it for the African is like confrontational? No, you got to do what, if you have the idea, I mean, come on. People just do it. But I'm just saying, if you look at like Trump, the war in Iran, I would say the operation is to squeeze China. Yeah, deprive them of cheap energy. These energies is what runs the world. I mean, guys, if you don't have stable electricity, I mean, you're literally like in the dark ages. But if you have stable electricity, you can have good manufacturing. You can preserve the foods. Like if you go, for example, I'll tell you example, like where I'm from, the Gambia, right? Do you guys know how much mangoes go bad? Vegetables that go bad because they do not have a way of, preserving them. No stable electricity. So just having that energy, that would change things completely. It would bring you into the 21st century. And I have to say this, like if you look at it, Africans right now have the advantage, but Africans have to accept it. Because all the work, we don't even have to do invention. It's already done for Africans. All you have to do is jump straight into this system, but learn the system. It's called plugging in. That's what the Japanese did. Name one Japanese that's ever invented a car. The Japanese didn't invent the car. They came to America and learned how cars are fixed. So they innovated, they learned how to come up with their own. They came up with Toyotas and Hondas. So at this point, you don't even have to try to invent. It's already done for you. But here we go.
want to raise processing to at least 50%. And so we're changing the model by which we finance cocoa purchases. We're raising those bonds ourselves. We took a bill to Parliament. Parliament has approved it. So we've changed that model to give us better control of our beans. I've also said that by 2030, we want to end raw ore, mineral ore exports. We want to process those ores here. Manganese and all of them are special minerals that are useful for the whole EV revolution and all that.
Yeah.
And so we can do some of the primary and secondary processing of those minerals here.
You're talking about Ghana asserting itself economically with a new model. But the question is, will the rest of the world accept this new assertive partnership? Your vision doesn't just.
So, does the president even sound like he is saying, okay, we saw the opportunity and we're going to take it? Oh, he said, like, we can do it here, like saying, you should let us do it. No, I mean, because right now, like, especially with China, this is the time, like, most of the African nations have the advantage and say, okay, China, because we are aligned with you, we support you. So you guys have knowledge about factories. So why don't you like start building some of your factories over here? Or we do exchange and send young men, smart young men to China or to go and work in those factories. They should have a program like that. That's how the Chinese learned from the United States. That's how they did. So the same thing, because it's all about, the economics. But the way African nations are even running it, the same thing the president is saying, Africa should stand on its own, which is true. He is correct about that. But you can't say that and then repeat the same model whereby the people you're dealing with, instead of learning how they are able to take advantage of you, you gain that knowledge. Instead of doing that, it's like you just allow them to just keep giving. It might look like they are generous, but they are buying you. You are selling your control over to them. That's what's happening. So here we go.
Just entail countries acknowledging the historical injustices that they have been responsible for, but also holding them accountable for the exploitation of Africa's natural resources and people. Does Africa today have the leverage it needs to change this equation?
We can if we stand together and speak with one voice. And I believe that.
Guys, another internet question. This lady just asked a question that people have been asking on the internet. So the lady's like, okay, you've said all this, but literally she's saying, can you back it up? Can you back it up? Because it's a challenge. So the people that are at the top, it's not like they are just gonna move to the side and say, yeah, now you're in charge. So how are you going to stand on what you are saying here? So the president said unity. So the blacks, the black world, have been singing unity since the 60s. I just laid out the blueprint to you. The United States, they are the same skin color as the Europeans. In fact, that's where they came from. But when the time came to take over, right, like Europeans, man, go listen to these Europeans, the UK, these white people, they are straight up hating on the United States. Straight up just hating, because the United States is controlling them. You see, it's all about that economics. So now the United States have enjoyed this power at the top. Do you think the United States is going to give that up? just by saying, oh yeah, Africa, we're uniting. Okay, you know what? I'll let the president tell us how this unity is going to change anything.
This is the time for the continent to become more integrated and united than we've been in the past. Africa and a lot of the global south is in the position it is because of two historical events that's whose consequences are still enduring. One is the slave trade and the heinous effects that it had on Africa. And
Here we go. You see, Mr. President is talking about the slave trade. So the blacks also talk about the slave trade. Okay? They talk about the slave trade. And Africans talk about colonialism. Guys, I'm I'm just telling you, these things are excuses. They are excuses. So the president is now talking. He said slave trade. Guys, that means when it is a trade, that means that two parties are involved. If you anywhere you hear trade, two parties are involved. Guys, remove your emotions from this and even think about the word. Come on now. People, whenever you hear trade, two people are involved. So why are we, if the Europeans were buying, if they were buying people, who were they buying from? So when the police show up in a drug transaction, both the buyer and the dealer are usually arrested. Am I lying? If you are caught, if, for example, someone says to you, hey, hey, let's drive over to the mall, right? And they go in the store and they steal something out of the store. And the car is driving, cops pull you guys over, they call, oh, if there's drugs, you also, even though it's not yours, you know nothing about it, you are an accomplice to that. So if the president himself is saying trade, that means the Europeans were trading with someone or groups of people. Are those people, did they commit a crime? Did they commit a crime? Put it in the chat. Let me read this super chat. Jada, thank you for the super chat. Jada said, clowns in the chat. Did the CIA send y'all? I do us Africans a favor and exit. The adults are trying to have a discussion that pertains to Africa. Peace and blessings, Sierra Leone. Thank you, Jada, for the super chat. So, guys, let's hear more about this.
the countries of the Caribbean and all other places where labor was sent, for extraction. And it created, wealth that still exists today in certain families and certain businesses.
Sir, do you guys see the president is? So that he said in the slave trade, literally. So he's saying that, oh, these people, we sold our slaves to them and they somehow put the slaves to good work and their wealth is still in existence. Okay, so whose fault is it that you are a terrible businessman? So the president is literally saying, without saying it, that look, we are very jealous that the people we sold the slaves to, all the wealth they made from the slavery, from the people we sold, they still were able to pass the money from generation to generation. Guys, I mean, am I over analyzing it? Did you hear the same thing I'm hearing? Guys, don't put any for example, I'm not judging the president, but I'm just telling you guys, this is the same old type of stories we've been hearing from people that are put forward to give us answers. They can tell us all the problems, they can diagnose everything. But now when we are asking for answers, they start telling us about, the Atlantic slave trade, colonialism, the white man. I mean, come on now, isn't it time for people to wake up and start seeing things? And soon we'll get into the reparation here. Let's hear more.
That was the first. And then after slave trade was abolished, a new way had to be found to still keep Africa under domination. And so colonialism in the 19th century, the European powers sat down and just drew maps and divided Africa amongst themselves. And it wasn't until the late 1950s that Ghana in 57 became the first African country south of the Sahara to get its independence. That order is what continues to account for the current global order. And I believe that if Africa comes together and we speak with one voice and we're integrated, we can influence the new global order that is coming. The issue of reparations. I mean, reparations.
Okay, so you guys hearing this? We're about to get, he's going to talk about the issue of reparation. And we're going to hear who can ask for reparation and who doesn't. Who can we blame, and who can't be blamed in this slave trade? Guys, make sure you pay close attention. Make sure you pay close attention.
Has been talked about over the decades. We became the champions for reparations and restorative justice. I realized that we're all singing from different.
So, did you guys hear this? FBA claims that they are the champions of the reparation and restorative justice. The president just told you. Because you see, you are playing in a little league, the president is playing in a global league. So let us find out if FBA even qualify to ask for reparation.
Hymn sheets. And so the first thing we had to do was let's all come together and sing from the same page. And so we began building a coalition from North America to Latin America to the Caribbean to Africa.
Boom. So not America, that would mean those are the blacks. Okay. So he wants to form coalition, bringing in the blacks, but you would also see that in a way the blacks cannot really, do much. And, he's bringing in the Latin American. See, so that means Ghana, in fact, have more leverage than the blacks because Ghana is reaching out to all those other nations. So you will see from what the president is explaining here, that FBAs are using reverse psychology because FBA are the ones trying to tether themselves onto African suffering to collect money from, African reparation. Wait, you will see. I'm going to interpret and analyze what the president didn't even say word for word, but that's what I'm here for, right? To analyze it. So let us hear the president continue. Because from this on, FBA must know Africans have delineated a while. So you cannot come and blame Africans to say they're trying to steal your reparation. It's the other way around because you don't even have a claim and you're about to find out.
And once we started to sing from the same hymn sheet and speak with one voice, we had the UN General Assembly accept a resolution with 123 countries.
You did, but there were still 3 nations that voted against this resolution,
Yes.
which in fact you were mostly behind. It's a resolution that Ghana
Yes.
pushed through. 3 countries voted against: the United States, Israel, and Argentina. Did that surprise you?
It didn't surprise me.
Why not?
Because we had gotten indication from the United States that they won't support it. And the main argument they put was that you cannot create a hierarchy of crime.
But were you disappointed that they voted against?
I was disappointed that they did because I don't hold the US accountable for slavery.
Did you guys hear this? Did you guys hear this? So the president just literally said he does not hold US responsible for slavery. So when the blacks were running around on the internet saying, oh, the Ghanaian president was talking about us. So if he doesn't hold the US accountable for slavery, that means the US did nothing wrong. Okay? As far as he's concerned. Guys, this is interesting. In fact, I'm bringing it because I'm not saying it for people to be mad. I want you to think about what he's saying here, because this would change the way we are having these conversations. So, is the African fight, are Africans stealing the FBA reparations? From this conversation, it doesn't sound like that.
Those slaves were brought there mostly by European powers, because at that time, US itself was a colony. Even though after the abolition and after United States became an independent country, slavery continued until the Civil War was fought. And that eventually what freed the slaves in the US. So I didn't think that US should take responsibility for slave trade. I mean, when
But
we
the
talk
US
about,
benefited greatly.
you know,
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? So the president said that the US cannot be held accountable for slavery because the US itself was a colony. The European powers were the ones that brought the slaves to the US. So now, if this resolution that the Ghanaian president and other Africans have been brought together to push at the UN, and if Ghana is the one heading it, and the president is saying the US cannot be held accountable for slave trade, that means FBA don't have any claim to reparation. Are you guys hearing this? Are you guys hearing this? I'm not the one telling you. What do you make of what he just said? Because you have to look at it in legal terms. He said that the US, I'm disappointed. Why did the US vote against this? Because the US cannot be held accountable for the slave trade, because the US itself was a colony. The European powers brought the slaves there. There goes the case of the FBA. Did you guys catch that? So now that means FBA, even our own leaders have officially signed the delineation. You were never delineated because you never could, claim reparations. That's what this statement is. But I'll let you guys hear more.
good. I mean, it built their railways, it did things for them and all that. But I don't think that they should bear the guilt, in a certain sense for it, because I would have thought that the European countries that brought the slaves there would feel more adverse to the resolution and probably would have voted for it. But even they abstained.
But this was a symbolic resolution,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes.
Which essentially called the slave trade the gravest crime against humanity.
Yeah.
But you have gone further.
Yes.
You have been calling for reparations.
Yeah.
Is that wishful thinking? How do you make countries that benefited from the slave trade actually pay back?
It's justified. It's justified because
But is it realistic?
it's justified. And when we talk about reparations, we don't kid ourselves that those nations will just get up and write a big fat check and say, here you are, we're paid off for what happened. No. We think that.
Hold on. Isn't that how FBA started? FBA was saying, no, it's not about the check. Then they said, cut the check. Have the president been watching FBA videos and using their own games against them? Is that what's been happening? So now he's saying, because the lady wants to know okay, how are you going to make these people pay you reparation? It's a good question. And he's like, oh, we are not asking, we're not kidding ourselves that we're going to get a big check. Then what is the reparation going to be about? So let's hear this. So you guys heard it. FBA, as far as this statement is concerned, they have no claim to reparation because the US cannot be held accountable for the slave trade. You heard it here first.
There are many aspects to reparations. First, acknowledgement. Let's acknowledge it. It's like they want us to sweep it under the carpet. Before you couldn't talk about reparations and slave trade. It's a closed chapter. That's it. We don't talk about it. You know, we say no. Let's talk about it. Let's acknowledge. And since the resolution, you'll be surprised at what's happening. Several, organizations and nations have begun to say, look, I think let's talk. Let's create a dialogue on this issue.
But this is not about financial reparations, is it, Mr. President?
We're not going there. We're talking of acknowledging.
So whether you agree with it or not, so now FBA can no longer claim that the president is trying to hijack their reparation. You guys heard it. This is strictly African reparation and Caribbean. So someone is in the chat saying African logic. Sir, the man is literally saying if the US cannot be held accountable for the slave trade, how can you then ask them for reparation? You would have to establish fault first. You would have to establish that. But if you can't even establish that, how can you ask for reparation? You have to be able to establish it. So who's going to go speak for you at the United Nations? The guy that's supposed to speak for you in the United Nations is saying the US is not part of this. So that means you have no claim.
We're talking about healing. We're talking about, reparations can take the form of changing the global order. It takes many forms. And I'm saying that I don't think that they're going to write a 300 billion check and say, here you are, descendants of slaves, here you are, take this check and, let's let it pass. We must even learn from the lessons of history. We talk about the Holocaust today, we still talk about it because never again should it happen that millions of people are put in railway trucks and sent into gas chambers and gas to them. That was horror, but we can't forget it. If we forget and we don't acknowledge what happened and all pledge that we will work to not make it happen again, it could happen again.
But isn't it happening again, Mr. President? When you look at what's going on in Palestine.
You look at Gaza,
You know what blows my mind? Why are these African leaders, when they talk about places where atrocities are taking place, they point to other continents? They would say Gaza, Palestine. But what about Sudan? Eastern Congo? In Libya, they are selling people there as slaves, many parts. And what is happening in parts of Nigeria? But they are always concerned with Palestinians for whatever reason. Okay. Jada, thank you for the super chat. Jada said the US is over 40 trillion in debt and the brink of economic collapse. Black people talking about reparations is just hilariously insane. The most you can ask for is confession of guilt. Thank you for the super chat, Jada. So yeah, guys, I dropped the link there. If anyone wants to add anything, feel free to jump in and let us know what your thoughts are on what the president is saying here.
Look at the West Bank.
What would you call it?
It's what it is.
Is it a genocide?
I said it works like a duck. It looks like a duck. It's a duck.
It's a genocide.
Of course, because, I mean, look at the number of people who have been killed. Of course, we condemn what Hamas did, killing 1,300 Israelis. But the toll on the other side, 65,000 women and children have been killed since October, that October strike. And even
So he's talking about the Hamas issue. All right, we have Philip in the house. Philip, welcome to the Afridamus Report.
Brother Alfredamus, good to see you again, brother.
Thank you, thank you. Philip, have you been listening to what the president is, some of the answers he's giving? Which part do you want to tackle here? The mic is yours.
I think that you're doing a tremendous job taking a step by step through this. And yes, I have been listening, and maybe, I'm best equipped to deal with the most important part that you just pointed out about the United States. So, and the FBA effort, whatever you want to call them, that the bottom line is the U.S. Supreme Court has already set a trap for Black Americans about the reparations claim based on what the president just said, which is, and you have talked about this many times, Afrodamus, only Africans were enslaved in the United States, not Black Americans.
Right.
Africans. And so what the U.S. Supreme Court has put in place is to say, for any claim that comes in a U.S. court, you have to have standing. You have to be the party that's injured. Right. And only Africans were injured, not Black Americans. So in order for us, Black Americans, to bring the claim, we must come as Africans.
Exactly. You understand the legal language of it.
So, Brother Alfredamus, I salute you. I salute you to stop this nonsense that's going on. Basically, what's happening, I think this FBA thing is a psyop. It's killing our real effort to try to bring a reparations claim. The president of Ghana is on all four legs of the stool to try to do this right. But
I mean, it's great that he's bringing the conversation forward. People can agree or disagree with him, but he's the one bringing the conversation, and he's answering all the questions that people have been bickering about on the internet. So that's commendable.
That's right, brother, and I appreciate you for taking the time and laying this out step by step to get this done. You know, you're cooking with gas today, Afrodamus. So I want to get out your way.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. All right. That was Philip. Now let's bring in Louis. Louis, welcome to the Afridamus Report. Louis, have you been listening to the analysis here?
Yes, I didn't catch it right from the beginning, but I've already seen the report on another
All right.
show.
Which points here, Louis, do you want to tackle here and give your point of view on?
Right. It's important. Big shout out to Phil, who just spoke very well. He always comes with common sense, and you're doing a good job at the moment. So I'll give you this one. You've been painstakingly going through it. It's very simple. The president represents not just Ghana, not just Africa as a whole at the moment on this particular issue. He's continuing the work that was started even before Nana was in presidency. During a time when they went to the Caribbean, the Carib countries are very much involved in this. He's actually mentioned the Jamaica putting a petition soon to King Charles, and he will be there to support that on behalf of the African nations. So this is something that's been working on in the background for a long time. But notice the Caribbeans and the ones on the continent who are linked together with the African American organization as well, pushing this through.
Yeah,
so
but Louis, what do you? I mean,
I'm
because you
getting
know
to it.
we've had the FBAs running on the internet saying the president of Ghana is hijacking it. But what
They
he's
actually,
saying is, so that means FBA doesn't even have a claim. What
at
do
the
you make of
moment,
that statement?
right? At the moment, those in
Because
the
if the
FBA,
U.S.
yeah,
if the U.S. cannot be held accountable
yeah,
for the slave trade
yeah,
from that statement, how
uh-huh,
can you ask for
right,
reparation?
right. This is all a matter of law. You understand? That's what the president understands that idiots on the internet don't understand. This is a matter of law. These people are in positions of power, whether you like it or not, and you work with the law. That's why they have to go to the UN to make it a crime first, and then you can now go after you've established a crime. Now you can now go after those who committed the crime. So now they look at it the way the law looks at it, right? And this is something that the Americans have known for a long time, and they've waited for the Africans to come with it because they've already known this. That's why the Africans and the Caribbeans are taking it to the Europeans because they were the one in charge of America. You understand?
But
And
Louis,
they
what if the Europeans brought the receipts? I mean, they were
well,
trading with some people. How I mean, if they
well,
brought the
that's the
receipts,
matter of that's the matter for the law. That's the matter for the law. That's why the president is pointing to law-wise. You can't really. You can talk obviously American participated, but America was not a nation at the time when it was lawful to hold a slave. America shortly after things
but you see,
then
Louis, there's a
came into their
problem
own.
there, Louis. That
Mhm,
means that Ghana
mhm,
Ghana as an entity
mhm.
cannot sue for reparation because Ghana did
Right,
not exist back
right.
then.
So
Ghana did not exist.
right. But you see, now that's why I say it's a matter of law. So now the lawyers behind this from the Caribbean and in Africa, now they can look at this, and even from the ones from America, they can look at this, right? That's why I like what they took to the UN, because if you looked at the people who were backing him, they were the lawyers from the Caribbean, lawyers in America itself, and other places. It's a matter of law. So now they're telling him what's what. He can see what's up. So now he's giving you an idea of the next stage. That's why
But
they're taking it to
Louis,
the Europeans. He mentioned the Europeans in it.
but
You understand? Yep.
Louis, if they push this and make this law, don't you think this can set up the current nations if they can make them a party? Don't you think we might end up being payers instead of receivers if the receipts come out?
Well,
Aren't you worried about the receipts?
No, I'm not
Okay.
worried at all. I mean, what receipts can they give to Africa?
To show that these people were in fact sold.
Well, now that's a good one. Then that is when we get to that point, the lawyers will know how to tackle it from that point. You understand? I don't think our people are that naive. They're not just gonna. They're not people on YouTube doing FBA videos. These are people in positions of power. They will know how to move.
But because Louis, if we
Mhm.
doing if we, like you said, the
Mhm.
legal terms,
Yeah,
if he's using the legal terms that the U.S. cannot be held accountable for the trade
yeah,
because
yeah,
they were a colony, right?
yeah.
So that means that
Mhm.
the Ghana did not exist back then. But if you can
No, but the
then
kingdom.
wait, if they turn it around and
Mhm.
legalize it and be able
Uh-huh.
to hold the parties accountable,
Mhm.
what if the U.S. turns it around and supports the FBAs to get reparation from us?
No, what they can only get
Because they could
reparation.
do that, because
Yeah,
that
they
means
could do that.
the
But
U.S.
listen,
got out. They could say,
yeah,
okay,
it's not
we were just
it's
a
not,
colony and they
yeah.
brought these people
That
over
again,
here.
like I said, that's a matter of law. When you go into the law will break certain things down depending on what you're able to push at the law.
But which law would be used though?
This is the interesting thing. Obviously, we have a UN law and
Because it
so on and
used to
so
be
forth.
legal back then. So
Yes.
which law are they going to? Because if something was legal, you cannot
So don't forget.
retroactively pass a law
Well,
to ban it.
right. Well, don't forget. There's still stuff that are seen every day with laws that goes way back from the Magna Carta and so on and so forth. So that's a matter for the lawyers. We have what do you call it? We have not biblical law. There's a certain name for them. Historian law. There's a special department that deals with that in law. So that's possible. So what he's basically telling you is that it's a matter of law. So it depends what law exists. So if they might have to add some new laws, what law, what court they're going to take it to? The ICC, the UN, and so on and so forth. So that's a matter of, that's a thing for us to look for for the lawyers to deal with. But for the time being, we need to establish who was responsible. We know who was responsible. People who orchestrated. As I speak to you, you know, the Church of England, the head of the Church of England, the new leader, the woman, she went to the slave castle about 2 weeks ago, and she was already talking about a certain amount of money they've set aside because the Church of England made certain investment. They had slaves, and they made certain investment with the slaves. They made up to date about 700 billion. They've got the record. And out of that 700 billion, they just want to give a measly 100 billion, right? But it's with conditions. So they've already made.
Shouldn't that money go to the people in the Caribbean?
That money is not even enough. That's not.
But what I'm saying is,
it's not.
You know, because if they set it aside for the slaves themselves were taken out, and we know where their descendants are. Right. Don't you? You know, even though they're Africans, but we know their location. Should that money come to Africa or to the Caribbeans and America?
It will go to the victims of the first victims of the direct. So there's people in the Caribbean and in the Americas or wherever the Church of England had their slaves, and mainly in the Caribbean. Yeah.
Okay. But so how can Africa enforce this payment?
Right. Africa at the moment can take it, and the Caribbean nations are the ones who are able to take it before the law, because the FBA, for instance, I don't want to use their name. Honestly, I don't want to give them the credit. Right, the people in America, our black people in America, some of our people, right, they would need a body that represents them, and at the moment they don't have a government. Okay, so they could actually come in through the African nations or the Caribbean nations. They're gonna have to work it out how they're gonna do that. Yeah, but the whole world acknowledges this crime, so that we can point to who it was affected. Some of them may have their own nations, like the Caribbean. The others who don't have their own nations, like in America and so on, they can come up with something that will still hold this boy accountable. Because if the Church of England have come and admitted their role, because it's all on paper, everything's on paper. They documented everything. So the researchers and so on, they've got the work cut out. But they've been doing this for some time. So I'm not worried at all. The only problem is that the FBAs and what they were hoping for, and I don't want to credit them with that, I hate that name, okay, is the way they were going about it. It looks like the only way they're going to get anything is with what the Caribbeans and the Africans are doing. So they better stop this nonsense, FBA, and put the tail back between their legs and just be beg and just hush up and stop being arrogant and coming on talking crap, because the way things, because this is law. This is the beauty of law. When it unfolds, then we're going to see. But there's different avenues to it. And 100 billion, by the way, is a drop in the ocean. They made 700 billion. So they're just doing that to throw a little cent for you Negroes so you can get happy and run away with 100 million. No.
All right. Let's bring in Harsh Reality too. Harsh Reality, welcome to the Afridamus Report.
You're out there, Afridamus. How are you?
I'm well. Harsh Reality, you know, have you been listening to the analysis and also the conversations?
Oh, yes. I've been listening. And here's the thing. You're a serious person. The president's a serious person. FBA are not serious people. Okay. And now, if they were taking this seriously, which they're not, Tariq Nasheed has had 3 Republican representatives call into the show, and not once did Tariq really mention reparations to any of them. In fact, one of the Republicans was a staunch anti-reparations Republican. Tariq never mentioned any of that. So it's not a serious thing. And another thing is, Tariq, in fact, I'm going to read something to you very quickly just to put all this reparations thing to bed.
Your volume is...
Sorry.
Get close to your mic. Harsh Reality, are you there? You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, in 1537, the Pope did a decree to say that indigenous people of America could not be used as slaves because he considered them people with rational thinking brains. So if you're indigenous to America, you could not be a slave. That's why they went to Africa to get their slaves. So all these FBAs now claiming that they're indigenous, they've got no claim anyway, because they would, if they're really indigenous, then they were never made slaves in the first place. But Tariq and people like that, they don't look into these stuff. They just come online and start talking all this rubbish. Every single thing that Tariq has done and these FBAs have put out there, all they've done is put stuff to say why they shouldn't be awarded reparations.
Yeah,
And
but,
this whole
what do you make of the president said the U.S. cannot be held accountable for the slave trade. He was surprised they voted against. So if the U.S. cannot be held accountable, that means the FBAs are out of the reparation game, right?
well, of course,
Well,
there's not a single reason why that's been provided why they should get reparations. So yeah, of course, the US,
So
America
you
isn't
agree with
responsible.
that?
Well, yes,
well,
Okay.
they
listen. Sorry, that's also, we've also at this case got to take into account that is the president's analysis and opinion. That in law, somebody else might come up with something else that might get thrown us off. But I understand where he's coming from, but it doesn't necessarily mean so because he says it. That's what his opinion is. If you get what I'm saying.
let's let him say this part here. 1 second.
Today in the West Bank, I mean, settlers are hounding Palestinians of their land, and they go create
a different subject.
So okay, that's a different.
I mean, look at the fight against apartheid. Until the ANC and the freedom fighters of South Africa, together with the frontline states, put a lot of pressure on South Africa to eventually let go apartheid. Some of their greatest backers and allies were the Western nations.
Yeah.
And so that hypocrisy has been with us. You know, different lenses are used to look at different situations. And the point is, as long as we continue to distort justice, depending on who it is, we'll continue to live a lie. I mean, we must say things for what they are. And that's why Africa is pushing for greater representation on the UN Security Council.
Precisely. And you told the UN General Assembly last year, Mr. President, that today's institutions no longer reflect today's world.
Exactly.
I don't think there's anyone who...
So, all right, they're talking about. So, do you think Ghana or African nations, things that were acquired militarily, financially, they are under the boots of those people? Do you think, the president, what he's saying here, this is even realistic? Is America going to hand over the power just because they are saying it? They have no way of backing it. In fact, the nations are dependent on other countries. What do you think about that statement?
Was that for the brother?
Louis.
Okay, yeah. Listen, I think that statement has come about because Africa, apart from the apartheid movement, have not pushed for anything like this. This is unprecedented waters for the whole world, but it is without a shadow of a doubt. That's why the lady asks about the UN resolution, because by having if we can get in a UN thing and have more of a say, then they will give you, we can change things. But that's why they won't allow us to be permanent members of the UN.
Yeah, but if someone, the word allow, because the people have the power.
Yeah,
they're not gonna, so these people took it because they have power. So Africans just wanted to be handed
no.
handed
You have
these
to remember,
things. But then, if you have the power, you have to exert that power.
Yes. At the moment, the power that we have was explained perfectly, was demonstrated perfectly when we wanted to push this slavery reparation thing through. Okay, and it was done very successfully. Okay, but despite that, we're not permanent members. We're not permanent 5 members of the United Nations. But you have to remember, once upon a time in the 60s, China was not a permanent member of the UN. The African votes got China in there. All right, and China have not forgotten that. They're not like us black people. We just stab you in the back and then we're okay. They haven't forgotten that. So every now and then,
you think China would vote for an African nation to be on the
trust?
Okay.
Oh yes,
you trust it?
No, I know so.
Okay,
I know so because it's in their interest. Okay, it's more favorable for them, but it's not in the interest of America. That's why Trump completely he wants to do away with the UN. Yeah. Because he can't have his way in the UN and he gets blocked and all that. So he doesn't like the UN. But you see, this is like when America throws the toy out of the pram. You just can't be, using it when it suits you, and then pulling out when it does. That's why we need more parity by having more African, or at least one African state in there representing all of us.
So would you be
so
okay if that nation is from the north, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Tunis?
Well, they're part of Africa, but I think we need one from Black Africa.
No, but if we say in Africa,
because they will vote for the Arab world.
You know what? Let's hear the president. Even the president talks about that. See, that's another dilemma here.
It's not hard. It's not a hard thing to. It's not a dilemma really. It's simple.
Well, but wait and hear how the president,
because from the north is from the Arab world. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on.
Can argue with this.
Exactly.
But 30 years after Nelson Mandela made the same argument, the UN Security Council still does not have an African state as a permanent member. Despite the fact that the continent represents a fifth of the world's population, is Africa simply waiting for something that isn't going to come?
Well, not only Africa, because the push for greater representation is the global south. And so it's not only Africa. But again, like on the issues of reparations, what I told you, we're speaking from different hymn sheets. Everybody is making his pitch from their own hymn sheet. In Africa, we went and passed the consensus. They call the Zulu consensus. And we said that we wanted the global reform of the United Nations to involve expanding the Security Council and allowing greater African representation, and then at the same time, either removal of the veto or extension of the veto to cover the expanded membership. Now, the point I've made, and I've made it before and I'll make it again, is that we need a two-step solution. And so we should speak with one voice and ask for an expansion of the Security Council. Once we expand the Security Council and we have better representation of the Security Council, then we can discuss the veto. But of course, the countries that have the veto are not going to even consider reform of the Security Council when even before you've expanded the membership, you're asking for, a determination of what happens to the veto. We need to change us.
You hear that, Louis?
Yeah. I hear. And he's being realistic. You understand? This is how
right.
Yeah, this is how far we've come now as leaders, presidents, diplomats. In Ghana, we've had, we're quite steady. Even during military time, we had people in those positions of power for some time. So they were secretaries like the UN general.
But what I'm saying is, as far as the UN is concerned, right? This is about the globe, the world powers. They're not gonna do what he's saying, and I'm glad he's realistic. Harsh reality. You want to say something before I continue the video here shortly?
Yeah, because what it is unless you knock on a door.
No, sorry. Yeah, Lewis can talk.
Yeah, we got to knock on a door first, get an answer. A couple of months ago, we were not speaking like this because getting
but why now? Why speak like this now?
Because we won a victory at the UN by getting slavery recognized as the worst crime against humanity. And before we were going for that, remember, I think you had a show and I came on, it was one or two of us. We didn't think it was going to happen, but we got it, and overwhelmingly it happened. The whole world. China voted for it. All the people you didn't expect, they voted for it. Yeah, apart from Britain abstained, some European countries, and then America voted against it. And then obviously, who do you expect? I mean, Israel and Argentina, obviously they voted against it. But apart from that, they were completely about 80
and the European nation, most of them, a couple of them, they abstained. So meaning
because they know they're going to be paying like France and Britain and others. Yeah, okay, but.
Then what means does Africa have to enforce that?
Right. We've got resources that they want. Okay. We've got something. We're not completely dead. Even Gambia is not completely dead.
No, I'm not.
Okay?
I'm not.
Right?
I'm saying what can you use?
Right. With people power. The same thing we done at the UN. Okay. Once you get it done by law, right, there's less. But if it's not done by law, they could just farm it off. So as a poor man, you got to do what little you can. Okay.
Okay.
And then
Let's hear him finish this statement here. This would give you more perspective.
Strategy. And we need to speak with one voice
But
as Global South.
can you speak with the one voice as African nations? Let's say the Security Council offered you 1 or 2 permanent seats tomorrow. How should Africa decide which country or countries will represent the continent? Can it unite?
I think we can. I believe that it would have been best if we got 5 seats, because Africa has 5 regions. And so each region would have representation.
But do you think realistically Africa can demand this greater voice if it cannot often speak with that one unified voice? We saw the migrant crisis in South Africa recently.
Yeah.
Can you be united? And which of the countries? South Africa has always been tipped as one of the main candidates. And Nigeria.
Oh, hold on, I'll pause it 1 second. Give me a minute. I want let her ask this question. I will see if you would answer it honestly, Louis.
230 million people. There's also Egypt.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with who represents us. I think we can reach a consensus on it.
I think the president has a problem with it. That's why he's saying we should, Africa has 5 regions. That's not going to happen. Then what would be the purpose of, having the veto power? But hold on. I want him to finish this. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Africa
needs more integration at this point. And that's why what happened in South Africa is unfortunate, because it comes at a time when we're trying to trade more amongst ourselves. We're trying to improve movement of people and goods across the continent. And so when these, I call them xenophobic, they don't want us to use the word xenophobic, but when these xenophobic actions happen, then it sets back the integration of the continent. Yes, we can discuss the issue of migration, and I think it's something we can put on the agenda of the African Union to discuss. We can discuss the issue of migration. But I do think that you cannot solve migration issues with vigilantism. Vigilantism is not the way.
Yeah, but Ghana have done the same thing.
No.
Okay, so Louis, what do you make of what he said about the painting South Africa as xenophobes?
We don't have to portray them as xenophobic. They are xenophobic. To hell with South Africa. But that's another point, right?
But Louis, isn't that happening in Ghana too?
No. Let me just deal with the original point of the slavery bit in terms of the UN resolution, right? You see, this is the petty little things that white reporters and the white countries like to throw at Africa. Oh, but haven't you? Oh, but this. Listen, you had the First World War, Second World War. They've killed more people than anyone, but they're still in charge of the whole thing, and they vote themselves in. So we just ask them for a little thing, and then they start making excuse. Oh, but how about Egypt? Oh, how about this? What the fuck is that? Excuse my language. What the hell is that got to do with anything? There's always problems. If you do that, you never. This is the little thing that they throw in your way. So to me, that's nothing. You should just flang that off. I would have answered it a lot better than that. But anyway, he done well. All right. But this is the little thing. They're always gonna find something. Oh, but what about this? How about that? The bloody president of America gets kidnapped. A whole president. Nobody's talking about it. But you want to talk about, oh, how about this? You waiting for the world to be perfect before you can move ahead? Then basically,
but Louis, in Ghana, they're kicking out the Nigerians too. I've seen it.
Ghana, are you joking? Do you know how many Nigerians in Ghana?
No, I mean, well, even in South Africa, there's still plenty of Nigerians.
No. Listen, there's no xenophobic going on in Nigeria or Ghana or any other West African
country.
country.
The South Africans also said they are not xenophobic. They just
want
to fix their country.
Very good. How many people do you know have evacuated their people from another country the way what happened in South Africa? That's xenophobia. That's right in your face. Okay, and the thing is, the worst thing is that
Louis, wait, they said you must go back.
Yeah, we're going back, all right. To get our goal.
You must go back.
Yeah, we're gonna go back now. You know the good thing about this, right? Listen, you know the good thing about this xenophobia attack in South Africa. It's made the Ghanaians.
Louis, they said they're enforcing their laws.
Yeah, let them. Now they're going to see the unemployment figures are coming. Let them enforce their law.
Man, South Africa, they said they're doing great.
They're the most stupid group of black people on earth. I'm telling you straight. I'll tell them to the face.
Man, be nice to them.
They can go to hell. After what
Man,
Africans
I thought you were
for these people?
Pan-Africanist. What happened to you to your Pan-Africanism?
Listen, I'm Pan-Africanist, but trust me, when it's time to put the whip down, you got to put the whip down. If we to move forward with South Africans, we cannot. With Pan-Africans, we cannot.
But they said they
bullshit.
don't. They said they don't want illegal immigrants in their
They
country.
could, why are the white people doing in their country?
What do you mean by what about this? Look, they get to decide.
How many Chinese are there? The Chinese got their own police.
But they get to decide who is legal and who is illegal.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. We pick our bags and we evacuate our people out. We're not arguing. I'm against Ghanaians going to South Africa. Okay? We picked our stuff and went. Zimbabweans picked their people and went. Malawi picked their people and went. Kenya picked their people and went. Everybody picked their people and went. And when they're looking bad, now they want to tell
the white people are South Africans, by the way.
Yeah, I told you on your show some time ago, if you remember, that Afro Forum was behind this. You remember?
Okay. Hold on. Speaking of Afro Forum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Louis.
Yeah.
Since you're a Pan-African, how did you receive the message if you have already received it or not? Afro Forum and March and March.
Yeah, they're same people.
They are meeting, and now they're forming a coalition. So,
listen.
What do you want to make of that?
Right. As I said on your show, on my last time I was on here, I told you that the March and March group was an organization of Afro Forum. I did tell you that.
The whites are South Africans.
They organized it long time ago, right? With the help of the CIA. Okay, that's why I believe.
But Louis,
listen to me. That's why
I always blame the CIA?
Because under Trump, the CIA has given a department to Afro Forum. Why do you think he asked them to come to South Africa, to America? He wants white people in America.
But this has been happening before even Trump.
No, not like power. This. Not like this.
It's been happening.
They look like they've been persecuted.
Louis,
it
was worse before.
No,
this has been going on before even Trump came to power.
Yeah, because listen, after Trump comes in, right? Look, the Afro Forum guy, the English guy, who's the head of the.
So are you saying the South Africans are just faking it? They really love those immigrants. They don't want.
Yes.
Come on, Louis. Louis. The South Africans mean it. They just take the L. Just accept it. There ain't
no white people being persecuted.
Louis,
what it is Trump wanted them to come to America. They don't want to go to America because it's hard life for them.
Take accountability. There's plenty of white South Africans here. I've met some.
Listen, they're diabolical. The diabolical ways of the white South Africans will never stop because they got away with it free because of
No, but it's the blacks. The blacks said, you must go back.
I told you that under the apartheid, Chief Buthelezi of the Zulus was paid to set up an organization.
So you think they are being paid?
I not think. I know. That's the history.
Oh.
Afro Forum ain't new. That gets a new name.
But why blame them? So you don't think the blacks can think for themselves?
They're too stupid to organize anything like that. And that's why the damn president invited them to their house and all that. Don't forget that. Listen, this is the whites are in power with the ANC. You know that they're sharing power to keep Julius Malema out.
I have to drop the link for any South African to come in here.
I got no time for South Africans.
It's not fair for Louis to be talking about
no
them.
Time. They're the most stupid, embarrassing group of blacks on earth. With the biggest opportunity, they wasted it. To hell with them. The rest of us in Africa don't care. The president is very upset. He didn't want to say too much on it because he's a diplomat. But I'm telling you right now.
But Louis, have you been seeing the criminals they were arresting?
Oh, what? The only criminals there is South Africa themselves. You know how many criminals?
No. Those criminals were not South. Those are like Nigerians and
Yeah. That's what they put in front. There were criminals there before Nigerians got to South Africa.
Yeah, but that doesn't. I mean, imagine migrating to a country just because you have your own criminals. That doesn't mean you want foreign criminals. That's not how it works.
Even if all the criminals left, from Nigeria left wing, it will still be the most
Yeah, but that's their own
country in the world.
Yeah, that's their own people. Let those people go be criminals in their own country.
No problem, no problem. They
Yeah.
told us to get out. We've evacuated our people. They are finished now. I'm telling you.
So no African unity then?
Not with South Africa. They're traitors. To hell with them. I hope they are.
But why does everyone want to go unite in South Africa?
To hell, I don't know why they want.
No, not you, but I'm talking about the population, the amount of people that are going there.
Because the rand was powerful. Okay, because the rand. The same reason why blacks go to America.
So the black South Africans, the Africans are tricking them for them to believe that it's about Pan-Africanism, but it's about the money.
They use
I think it's about white infrastructure
and money.
Yeah, that's it.
Proximity to the white man.
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right?
So then what's then Louis, why is it hard for you to say that?
The brother is smarter than I am.
No. You kept dancing around. Okay, let's hear this.
Way to deal with issues of migration. But I'm happy for South Africa and us to put the issue of migration on the agenda of the African Union, because we need free movement of our people. We need better integration. This is when we need integration.
And unity. On the topic of African representation on the Security Council, what do you think should be the key criteria? Is it the size of the population? Is it the diplomatic weight, the regional influence? Who do you think is best?
We can work that out.
Ghana is the best one. Forget
I
the
don't
rest.
mind.
You're just pro Ghana. Hold on.
I'm sorry, we're the best behaved in the class.
It's a good candidate. Nigeria is the largest black nation in the world.
He's not serious about that.
Hold on.
The world.
We want to hear
So if
this.
Nigeria is a member of the Security Council, it's justified.
Would you accept a non-sub-Saharan African state?
Yeah. North Africa. Yes, why not? Egypt, Algeria, Morocco. Why not?
You don't mean that.
They're part of Africa.
Another
You don't
key
mean
issue,
it.
though.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, he doesn't mean that.
Nah.
He's being diplomatic, bro.
No,
They represent the Arab world.
So there's no real unity then.
No, you need someone from the Arab world.
So he said Nigeria. Just because they have
Come on, he's not serious. He knows. He's just being diplomatic, bro.
Yeah, but you know, Nigeria. What Nigeria's gonna send Sagumi? You know,
No,
I mean, come on, man.
The country has to be. Like, if you was picking a jury, you're not just gonna pick any idiot, are you? You're gonna pick.
Wait, Sagumi is a good guy in Nigeria. What are you talking about?
We need someone that represents from a country with good stock. Okay, Nigerian governance have not shown good stock. Okay, you need consistency.
So you're saying basically Nigeria cannot be selected?
No, their behavior is a failed state. You got to pick from either Senegal, Ghana, Kenya, something stable. Even if you
see what South Africa.
No, to hell with them. They've betrayed us.
Okay, let's see.
They're worried about Arabs. They're worried about Arabs.
Hold on. Let's hear this, and then we'll bring in Ola.
Is whether the current 5 permanent members of the Security Council will ever accept willingly either to give up their veto or to share it with a growing number of countries.
Several of the countries have, given indication that they are not averse to an expansion of the Security Council. China has expressed support for Africa's request for greater representation in the Security Council. We can expand the veto and give one veto to the new members, or we can take the veto away completely, and all of us.
Do you really believe the US and others will accept you taking the veto away from them?
Well, I think that even if the veto is not taken, there might be some restrictions on how it's used. I mean, if there are cases of genocide that are discussed at the Security Council, it's unconscionable for any country to.
Yeah, see, that's why the president himself laughed. They do not have. There's no way the U.S. would do it. Even Russia, I mean, the whole purpose is to
No,
control.
Russia will do
That's
it.
what they. But let's bring in Ola. Ola, because we're almost in the 2-hour mark. Ola, go ahead. Welcome to the Afridamus report. Ola, what do you want to contribute, and what areas do you want to tackle? The mic is yours.
I would talk about the so-called reparation or was
Yes,
fighting
the
for.
reparation. What do you make of? Because Mahama, President Mahama said that, the U.S. cannot be held accountable for the slave trade. So that means that, FBA cannot claim it. What do you make of that statement? I want to hear your perspective on the reparation. Go ahead.
Yeah, in a way, is right. Very right. You see, the United States was with
Wait.
the,
What do you? So you agree?
yeah. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear.
You see, the United States, they call it United States today, actually will never really existed.
Yeah, but
It was
Ghana
never.
didn't exist either. How can
Yeah,
Ghana
but
ask?
yeah, yeah. You can call it the
Ghana had a
region of
victory,
Ghana.
so you can't really say
You
that.
can call it. You can call it the region of Ghana at that time. You understand me? Which is under these names they're still there. The people that brought those Africans to United States are the Spanish, the French, and the English.
Right.
You
Portuguese.
understand? So so under the name called United States, they didn't really exist. So United States come into existence after the civil, after those
1776.
but by
Yeah.
those group of white people, the Dutch, the
Yeah, the
Norwegians, and the
Revolutionary War.
Germans, yeah, that's how United States come about. So United States government can tell you we don't have no hand in slavery. We will also be oppressed by people that already oppressed us in
Yeah,
Europe
but
with
but, but slavery
this place.
continued even after the United States became an independent
That's why I
state. There
was
was
saying.
slavery in the South.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was
Yeah.
saying it's a matter of
But
law.
they can tell you
There was slavery
even when
all up until 1865.
yeah, but
Whoa.
that's why United States government said it was legal at that time. So you cannot hold us responsible because it was legal under a certain system of government that they overthrew, but they didn't change the system at that time. Change the law at that time. So it took them time to change the law. So you cannot hold them responsible for anything whereby it was legal at that time
So
by
then,
the
Ola, that means you approve that what President Mahama technically is saying, that it is Africans uh, uh, who who are owed reparation, not the FBAs. Do you agree with that?
technically yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at it, the people that they just fall from the sky.
Right.
They came
And
from
also but the FBAs are especially the ones that say they are
no,
keeping.
no, yeah, but you see, this is what we call those people are just you cannot compare school dropouts and people
Yeah.
that are like
They
having
don't represent the
mental
people.
issues. Yeah, people with mental issues drop out. People that are not well informed. Compared to this man is well educated and
Yeah.
everything. He thought deep, and if you look at it, what he's saying is that those Africans, you're not claiming now you
But
are Indian.
Ola, somebody sold those Africans. Then those people, if this become a serious crime, didn't those people also commit a crime?
Yeah, yeah. Look, if you say somebody sold those people, right? There's no proof who sold them. We can have
No,
just
it was a
have.
trade because the Europeans they didn't go in the interior. They only used to trade on the coast. It's people bringing people to them to sell.
Okay. Let's assume they say sold, right? Who are these middlemen that did these things, right?
Oh,
But you have
it's
to
all
understand.
written, like
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, we know who
like,
they are. We got the
let's say,
record.
yeah, we have the
yeah,
records, Ola.
yeah. But what you have to know in this kind of situation, right? He's telling you that those Africans, you're not saying Indians they took. He's telling about your own type of Africa, right? He's telling you those real original Africans that they took from Ghana. Let's assume use Ghana as a case of example. Right? He said those people have mother, brother, father. Some of them are even father themselves. You understand me? So if crime against humanity be committed against those people left in Africa who were crying and running around looking for their loved ones, looking for their children, looking for their uncles.
Those people, their kids are the ones that now become the FBAs. Shouldn't the money go to them?
Look, we don't.
No.
Let's say FBA. Let's assume FBA. Let's use FBA. Hold on.
The Indians.
This FBA, this so-called
because you guys have established that they are just crazy people, but if you know exactly like that, they're children. They're just talking crazy. Shouldn't the reparation go to them?
Only if you call yourself African.
This man does not even recognize. Nobody even recognize FBA. You understand me? Even in the world stage, these are just people in the internet who is crazy. They don't even know nothing about them. One hand they're Indians, the other hand they're this. You can never be Indian, thinking they can get something for United States. You see, what Mahama just said, that's what United States white government already have in their mind to say. They cannot pay you for nothing that they don't know nothing about. Anything. You understand me? So they will even say, we will free you for the hands of those people that brought you in. The Spanish, the French, and the English. You get what I'm saying? So it's not really they can shout. It's a clear picture now. You see the way Muhammad, as this is a very an intelligent way of explaining things. What Muhammad just did. It is shout about it. It is I say call the check. Call this like look. FBA is a group of grifters, a group of people with mental illness, a group of people that to be honest, we don't know where they're coming from. They themselves, you understand me? Africans can say, okay, you know what? We don't even know nothing about you. We want blah blah blah. Even the Africans can even hold United States responsible themselves. They have to hold the British and the Spanish and the French.
So Ola, how can Africans even enforce that? With what army?
Yeah, that's this. You see, this history is a forgotten history. It's almost like the history that look at the Russians. You see, most Russians and what they call the Portuguese, these are former slaves before.
Right.
You understand me? Do you know they will ship Portugal to Russia as slaves? You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. So what you see, this is a history, an event that happened, but if the event actually don't have a perfect solution, Africans cannot actually hold the British also responsible for it because it's very difficult to enforce, very difficult to analyze. Most African countries are not superpower. You understand me? You
and
cannot
Ola, what do you think about having what they are talking about, the African nations having a permanent seat in the UN Security Council?
Yeah, but that will not just having that seat there is
it's very
Black Africans.
Ola. So because President Mahama, they asked him, does it have to be like come to sub-Saharan Africa, meaning the Black Africa? Is it okay if the Northerners have it? And he said it's okay. Do you think he means it?
No, the black Africans, the sub-Saharan Africans, which just killed that so-called fake AU that has been formed with the North and the Ethiopians and the Somali. You understand me? These people are not part of us at all. We have to form now what we call the Sub-Saharan Union.
So Ola, if they give permanent seat to, let's say, Egypt or one of those countries up there, or Somalia on behalf of Africa, so you don't agree with that? Or South Africa?
No. You cannot.
What about South Africa? What about South Africa?
No, South Africa cannot be trusted.
Because of what South Africa is still on that, unrecognizable sanction yet for the sub-Saharan from the other neighbors.
But Ola, the North, the president is saying they are part of Africa. Why can't they represent Africa in the Security
No, they are.
Council?
You see, we start grouping people that actually never look. We can hold Malawi.
You disagree?
Yes, because let me tell you the truth, Afrodam. Why we're crying what South Africa is doing to other fellow blacks, because we saw that the people that are unaliving other black people, they're people that look like us, people that are supposed to have similar emotional feelings towards us. You understand me? So let's assume now, country like Malawi or Zimbabwe, you understand me? You know they have similar some looking like you, similar type of food, similar type of family organization. You understand me? So when they start forming this organization, we will not have actually had the North Africans. You understand me? The Ethiopians into the top of organization.
They're part of Africa though.
It's Canada, not hold on.
So are we being it's black Africans being tricked?
We know about the trickers. You see, to destabilize. You see, if you were to check the whole Africa continent as a whole, you see that the black ones have actually, in a way, been tricked by the Ethiopians, Haile Selassie. It's Haile Selassie that formed this thing. It's Haile Selassie that tricked Kuruma. You understand? And Kuruma was looking for.
We don't agree with that one. No,
I'm telling you, I'm telling you the truth.
And Nkrumah was feeling like that. No.
When Kuruma was, Kuruma really hates these colonialist people. If you check Kuruma, it was emotionally. He have emotionally deep hatred against the British.
Yes, he
did call them. So when somebody else jumped into the whole matter, right, and said we are brothers, and that Egyptian man that gave him a wife, the former head of
you mean he tricked him with Egyptian wife?
He tricked him with this NASA. He gave him a wife for free because he know what the African man wants. You understand me? Then the Haile Selassie just in a way, because if you have to the Haile Selassie did trust the Italians and the British themselves. So he himself was looking for a way to say so-called fake union. He now said, yeah, we can join together and be one. So that we can fight these so-called supremacists. Then it was always the white people always use the Moroccans, the Tunisians, and the Egyptians as a kind of like a listing post, also as something without they even know something to dissolve it.
Then what's the solution then? Because the President Mahama is saying they are Africans and they're in Africa, they play in African Cup of Nations, they are considered Africans. So Ola, then what is since you guys are not going to accept them, then what is the solution for black Africans?
Sorry, go ahead, Ola.
Okay, you see, sometimes when you put soup on top of a fire, you have to stir it so that the soup will not burn. You understand me? So if you cannot stir the pot, just like the way all of us stir the pot, if you check the black sub-Saharan Africans, we eat almost similar type of way. Soup with some kind of white starch of a thing. It can be corn, it can be cassava, it can be yam, it can be corn flour, it can be other type of flour. What is a grain flour? So as a solid staple to eat on it. The Kenyans call it ugali.
Ugali.
The Zimbabwe have named they call theirs. I put the Zimbabweans and the Malawis also the same type of category also. I think the Zulus also a similar type of thing also, and the other ones that form the black. The West Africans call it fufu. You understand me? For Gabon, Ghana, Nigeria, and the other ones that that follow to Gambia, all these things. So we have a distinctive type of mentality that when we sit and analyze things can be analyzed even when we come from different regions.
Yeah, but
then we can know our pay more better. Who's a traitor, who's not a traitor?
Ola, legally, because we're talking in terms of legal terms. These are considered African nations. So because when they go to the UN, they are African countries.
Yeah, but the world and the white people know that they now represent themselves as part of the Arab world. At the time when Nkrumah and Ezekiel and all them were coming up, we had one thing in common with the Arabs. We were all colonized by the British and the Europeans and so on. Yeah, and we were all fighting physical freedom fight for freedom. For instance, the Algerians, even though they hate us now and so on, that time they were fighting a serious war, guerrilla war with the French. And you understand? So we linked up in terms the way we linked up with Cuba.
But now the fight is different.
Now
it's
right. This was the reason why Nkrumah wanted to marry Nasser thing, because he felt that by doing that, it was a political marriage. Later on, it became a real love story, but a political marriage, which is people didn't understand. But the idea was to pull Egypt, which is the most powerful nation in the northern region at the time, in with the rest of Black Africa. And Nasser agreed. And at the time, it made sense. But later on, after Nasser and so on, the Arabs came in with their religion, okay, and they pulled themselves away from the rest of Black Africa. Unfortunately, that's what happened.
If you see, let's say what happened in the past was bad. We the modern ones, we the ones that didn't know nothing, or we the Africans now. I mean, talk about the Black West Africa, where some of these people came from, right? If you see a country like Haiti, the Asian people, they work called the Haiti people, right? Then you can say, bro, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know what happened. Believe me. Put your hand in his shoulder and say, I'm very sorry what happened, man. I didn't know nothing about it. It's a very big something. Put your hand on that guy's shoulder alone. You will feel his pain. You know why?
Why?
Because he looks exactly like you. You can feel his emotional pain. You understand me? And it will express to you. You will look into your eyes and say, it's not your fault, bro. You were not born then. You understand me? If he provide his food, whether it's beans or rice, whatever is bringing to you, it will taste exactly like what you have tasted before. You understand me? You also go to the Jamaicans also. You understand me? Put your hand in their shoulder and say, I'm sorry, brother. I didn't know what happened. I was shocked. He will look into your eyes, will tell you, no problem, man. Let's eat. You will taste his food. You've tasted something you already tasted before. You understand me? But I don't want to go towards United States because there's a group of people that don't understand. So what I'm trying to say here is the emotional attachment. Even when you didn't know these people for 400 years, but seeing them give you some kind of goosebumps of what happened. The Egyptians, the Tunisians, and the Morocco, if you look at them, you know these people are Saudi Arabia cousins. These people are Syria cousins. You and these people have nothing in common at all. You both can be friends. But when it comes to deep politics and less settle things, you will not want nothing to do with them. You will run away from them because they can sell you in time. So what I'm saying is this: is good for other organization of Black people to form an organization so that they can champion their own internal, disturbances. Why is it every Black country is blaming South Africa? It's not because we see that people that are doing it, they're like us. Why is it that that man have to apologize? Everybody clamp on that their head of state because it just look like us. It did what is Black South Africa? Did you think Tunisia are not doing it until today? Or the Libyans or the Egyptians, they're doing it. We did cry so much like that. Rather, we say avoid these people, run away from them because they don't look like us. You understand me? The ones that look like us will go hard on them.
So in many words, the president doesn't mean it.
Of Ghana?
He's been diplomatic.
We know systematically. It's not the way we challenge Ghana or Ghana will challenge Nigeria that we will want to talk about this so-called. We can see Ghana and Nigeria, they saw themselves, they fight themselves, go and check, they see marrying themselves like crazy. Oh brother. They cannot actually divorce themselves from each other because they know they are one. You get what I'm saying? Also related to Gambia or related to Senegal. We can just shout at each other, hit at each other, but we know we can never divorce ourselves.
So in many words, there's not going to be unity in Africa, as he put
no,
it.
as long these so-called semi-Arabs are there.
So then the solution for you is it's only the
Cotton.
blacks that have to.
Right.
So,
Listen.
but what
Yes.
about the whites in South Africa and the colors?
No. Sorry, Afrodamus, finish this particular point. The point is, the reason, as the Bible says, the things that are done of old are done for our learning. At the time after the Second World War, before Britain could wake themselves and be strong again, the countries that were fighting for freedom from these people had to get together. So it was necessary to pick the countries within the continent, whatever color, and say, we're going to unify, we're going to fight for independence. And that's what happened. Okay, now looking at it, the Arabs have drawn themselves away. So now we know, and President Mahama is not going to tell you, but he knows that we've got to be specific.
So then Africa is not going to get a seat then,
no,
because it's deception.
Right, listen, the people in North Africa belong to the Arab world. They've said it. It is the United, it is the Arab state of Egypt. That's what they call themselves now. They weren't calling themselves that before. Okay? Plus, now they've completely kicked back.
These Arabs have been sent. You see, Morocco wanted to join West Africa. They send Morocco, they send the Israelis also. The African continent is not enough for them. They say they want to become.
So Ola, what if they give it to Ethiopia then?
No, not at all. We don't want those people. Look, Afrodamus, man. I think I understand. Kuruma tried, though. I'm not going to lie to you. Kuruma tried a lot for you to be able to form what you see in a possibility. He lost his life for it. You understand me? But you see, when he was charged up, he was also emotional charged up. You understand me?
Yeah.
Well-educated man who was heavily passionate about. He saw what you see that these people, they would never leave.
Yeah.
You know, that they will come in different form. He said it. I saw the video when he was hollering, shaking his hand, saying, "Man, look.
Yeah.
If not for Kuruma, Nigeria will not even get independence, because most of these guys."
Ola. Don't let other Nigerians hear you say this.
No. We know. No. We know. We know what we know. Look, we know what Kuruma said. They get independence inside their late 50s. We get 60. Before, when he was fighting for the independence of Ghana, there are other Nigerians who were like coming to Ghana to study what we call journalism. People like them Azikiwe in Nauru. You understand me? These are the really Kuruma type of proteges. Student, he told them, look, you put a big Nigeria is a big nation. If we have independence, they will use you against us. You understand me? You have to fight for independence. So when Kuruma got that independence for Ghana, what did he say first? He said, we are not free yet until Nigeria become independent. Yeah. You understand me? And that will lead to the movement and everything. Look, don't have to be size that you have to, oh no, Ghana, push that thing. You understand me? We have to give it to them. They're always the ones champion some of this so-called dangerous movement. You understand? And when they go for it, they go for it. You understand me?
So Ola, before we leave, so Ola, now, it's clear from this statement, the FBA can no longer point fingers at Ghana president and saying they spoke about their reparation. This has nothing to do with them, right? So this is official delineation.
With this so-called mad movement, with these people that call it, you cannot compare them. Ghana is too sophisticated for them in all these things. You understand me? They're just too much. That man who brought so-called year of return, you understand me? He did really consult with other
which man? Nana Akufo. That's Lewis's favorite.
Yeah, Adu was having a kind of like soft mind, right? He didn't know these things. Now, if that guy sits and watch some of these things in YouTube, or they're playing towards, some of these so-called people that just start insulting country of Ghana, who just say, year of return, come and check if you can live in Africa or not. He just said, pack your bags and start coming to Ghana. Just say, visit, taste the culture, taste the food. If you think you see yourself in these people, you can settle with some of them. They are building houses there, but check what is good. And the mad ones, the ones that heard that are not good, started using it as, as a weapon to attack. They're making money out of it. Now it's Afrobeat, now it's in Pan-Africanism. But you cannot compare. You cannot compare these so-called mad people with a very sophisticated country like like Ghana. You understand me? You get what I'm saying?
They have a video. There's a video circulating with one of the FBAs actually went to Ghana or Gambia, one of those countries, and they stood in the back of a old brick in the garden somewhere, wearing dirty clothing. She's putting on right clothing on the line, and she's got her baby digging a ditch. A baby, about a 5-year-old baby, looking dirty and so on. And then she's talking about how she's making up shit just to put people off from going to Africa.
Just for me. Why? Yes, after that one, just like I have to stay in Gambia, I have to be making video about Gambia. Oh, life is for what? I came there to leave. Then they forced me to come. So what you see, that's what I said. We have to be very careful. Some of these mad ones, you understand me? You very careful. You get what I'm saying? So we just have to don't think about. I understand West Africa can have sometimes their own problem and everything, but look, this so-called the one that left now that's formed that union, this 4 countries, 30 countries, they ain't go nowhere. They know themselves that they're not going anywhere. They also fall back. You understand me? Or when some of this regime change, people like Tory will come back, others will come back. We know we're brothers. We marry heavily. We share similar type of something. They're not going nowhere. You understand me? But we are people with a very distinctive things. We see this the same in a way. You understand me? Shout out to West Africa, man. I didn't even know that.
Hold on. Let me read this super chat before we leave here. L Euro said, thank you for the super chat, said that he was saying, I guess, don't worry about America. I want to know about Ghana and the Caribbeans are going to get reparations from the UK. Thank you. He wants to know.
Yeah, if I can answer that.
Okay, you'll answer in a sec.
No,
Jada, thank you for the super chat. And Jada responds, Ellie, are you slow? Oh, are you about? I've been saying I don't think anybody's getting any type of financial reparations from Europe or the US. Thank you for the super chat, Jada. And Jada goes on. Oh, actually, no. Oh, Stockbot CEO said, shout out to my favorite cousin scammers. Oh, this is thank you for the super chat. This might be a scammer hiding somewhere in the Dominican Republic, but shout out Mino Black over there, in the Dominican Republic.
Shout out to him, man.
I don't think any leader in Africa will be taking any money for themselves or their people unless the people, the descendants of those who went into slavery, get their cut first. We got the land. We can make and develop ourselves. It's for those people,
you're right.
The proper African Americans in America and in the Americans, those who went into slavery, it's for them. If anything, you can always make it, if we're not sure who to give it to, we can always make sure we prepare land and build cities with proper roads and so on. So when they come, they can have land cheap, and then we can send a check to the Europeans to pay. Hey, Mr. C down there built a house in Gambia. It cost him about 80,000. There's the value of it. 300, 400,000. Give us the money. We can do that.
Look, you're not going to give nobody no land.
No,
those people, look, don't bring people back. That if they would have come back, they would have come back when the Brazilians started return. That 80 something. That's the closest they would have been back. But if you check places like Nigeria, the Brazilians own half of those Brazilian returnees owns half of Lagos, the real estate of Lagos. We use Lagosian. Here what called Lagosian. Yeah, the Lagosian they mentioned
that. The reparations.
They didn't get it,
guys, we're about to close. So, you guys, let's wrap it up. Our closing statement.
Okay, let me wrap before I hear from this. See, we have to be very careful. We can't. Nobody's getting money from the white man. It's not going to happen. But we can form what we try to form now. That even getting and start disturbing now, we can form what we call business link. You can see the Caribbeans now and the West Africans slowly they open what we call business link. There's a flight going to those places. And that was shaking the European Union. Oh, they start becoming more panic. Business, introduce business so that most of this country can be free. Country like Haiti, my favorite country, the Jamaicans and the other smaller island, everything, so that they can get into a bigger market with anything they're having or with their craft. That alone will bring us together. Compared to the United, let's go to the United States one. The United States ones are group of blacks that actually is very, very confusing yet, to us. I know they look like us, but they have a word called divided. They are like illiterate and people that have mental illness to start making noise in something. They are like gangsters in a little hood. So those ones first, we have to manage them and try to do more better with them, but it will be very difficult. Thank you for them.
Thank you, Ola. Thanks for coming. All right, go ahead, Harsh Reality.
Yeah, Epidamus. Good show. All I'm going to say is I'm just wondering why it's taking so long for these people to delineate. They're never happy, no matter what Africans say or do. I'm sick of these Africans that come on panels as well, and they kiss these FBA's asses, the likes of Godfrey, and just see all these people that are always trying to placate to them and still get called tethers anyway, and then go right back to kissing their ass. That needs to stop. So yes, that needs to stop. As far as I'm concerned, they're not getting any reparations. I don't think they even care about reparations as much as we think. I think what they really want to do is they just want to abuse Africans, but they want to hide it behind the fact that, oh, they think Africans are going to get their reparations, as if the American government don't know who are Africans and who are slave descendants, as if they can't just check those records. They really think that some Nigerian that comes in 2022 is going to try and get their reparations. Like that, their government is that stupid. Like the records aren't being kept. It's ridiculous. They know that they just want to talk about Africans. That's all it is. Tariq and Yvette Carnell, they put that whole reparations thing there, but they don't care about reparations.
Well, hopefully you think this
yes, this will put
analysis
an
would
end
help.
to it.
This would help them.
Yes, and hopefully Trump, I think they're talking about the Supreme Court. They're going to bring up reparations to strike it down and make it illegal. I heard something like that from Javen Bernadette. Hopefully that will be the best thing in the world if Trump makes it illegal, and then they can just stop all this nonsense. So then we can just say, hey, you're not getting reparations. Why are you still talking about Africans for? Don't talk about your own movement, about how much you're going to do in life and whatever. Talk about what you did 50 years ago, but you don't need to talk about Africans because you're meant to have delineated. Apparently, you say you don't look like Africans. You don't even have the same name as Africans. Africans don't want to be around you. You say that Africans tell their kids not to be around you. So you don't even need to delineate. Africans already delineated. So why is it every show you guys do, you got like 50 to 60 shows a day out there of people just making AI songs about Africans, AI videos, live streams every day, just abusing Africans. But when's this delineation happening? It's because you guys don't have anything going on. That's the problem. FBAs literally have nothing going on. They don't have their own language. They don't have their own country. And I'm starting to think it's just jealousy. They're just picking fights with Africans so that they can tell us how they had 50,000 inventions 50 years ago, when the fact of the matter is 80 something percent of the inventions around that same period were done by white people, and it was only 2 point something percent done by black people around that. So there was a period of time where inventions were being happening, and it was all happening in America. So the Bantu City Diary said something about how Africans or black people in general, they only do well when they're under white people. So does it not make sense that the Africans that were slaves that went to be around white people in America, that's when they started being the most productive? Yes, that makes sense. So there's nothing special. We don't care. We just wish you guys would leave us alone. That's it.
Thank you.
Anyway, bye.
Thank you, Hash. Thanks for coming. See you on the next one. Go ahead, Louis.
Yeah, there's no amount of money that a white man can pay to repair the damage they've done. I will always put it on their neck. Okay? But coming back home, being realistic, the best thing we can do is to bring forth the argument and push it through the UN and the courts where we can. This is what our generation have to do. If we get something from it, great. If we don't get nothing for it, our people will always remember them and what they've done. Okay, so we ain't got to worry too much. But at the moment, the argument is the right one. They've taken it to the UN, they got the vote. Okay, now you take it to the Europeans who are responsible for it, and let's see what comes. Let's fight it out in the court of law, and let's see what comes. Okay, you cannot get no reparations unless you're Africans, because it was Africans that were enslaved. So if you're calling yourself an FBA and going to go on your passport and say your paperwork, your FBA, I don't see you getting reparations. But
So
if you're
wait,
African American,
so
you can get
if you're,
reparations. That's how I see it.
what if you're part Indian?
If you're part Indian, well,
Yeah.
you better go to go on a reservation or get yourself a casino, whatever they're giving. But
Oh,
you gotta
thank
be
you, St.
African.
James, for the super chat. St. James said, "More power to the AES Afridamus. You know what time it is." Thank you, St. James, for the super chat. Yes, I will definitely have to, come here and shout out to AES for doing the great work. Have you been
Actually,
keeping up with that?
yeah, the Ashanti
Yes.
Heaney is there. They can ask him questions about all that. The Ashanti
All right.
Heaney is there at Howard University. So that's
So
going
so
to be
yeah,
good.
so Louis, so you're saying if you're part Indian, no reparation, huh?
No, because the Indians already got their casino, so go and get some of that.
Well, thank you so much for coming,
Yeah.
Louis.
All right, nice show. Nice
See you
show,
on the
bro.
next one.
Yes. When I get time, it's my time I finish work. I keep
All right.
listening to you. All right,
Thank
brother.
you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to complete the discussion on that. I want to thank all of you for watching and liking the stream, and those of you that supported the show with your dollars. Thank you so very much. And ladies and gentlemen, as you know, feel free to leave your comments on the video. We've touched on several topics in the discussion. And if you came in late, you might want to go check it out, check the beginning, so that you can catch up with the actual conversation. But it's pretty interesting. It's always interesting to analyze and break down the sit-down interviews that some of the African leaders give. If it stands out, for sure, it will come here to be read. El Euro said, "You never read my super chat." El Euro, I actually did. I did read your super chat. You probably missed out on it. Yeah, I read all of them. I read yours as well. But yeah, guys, feel free to leave your comments. FBA Young Lion, you missed out on this one, but I hope to see you on the next one. So that brings us to the end, and I will see you guys on the next.
Lend thy ears to the Afridamus. Pay attention to the Afridamus. The true Soninke warrior. Naturalist his intelligence. As a true professor. Solution to brainwash diseases. Sit back, relax, and hear the wisdom. Afridamus will heal your minds. Sit back, reflect, you'll find no objection. Afridamus will clear your doubts here. Always log on to the Afridamus. Lend thy ears to the Afridamus is the truth and no doubt.